In our last exciting episode, I took this Apple IIc apart and found that, in fact, the motherboard was pretty much deep sixed, and I was pretty much ready to, well, write it off at that point. Especially considering the fact that the chassis didn't look anything great. The body, that is, there was this huge gaping hole in it and a few cracks. And you're probably wondering why I'm using that in the past tense. Well, you've guessed it. I did, in fact, repair it. Here is that top piece right now, and as you can see, it has now got a lot of crazy glue residue over here because I crazy glued the piece right back into place. And as you can see, it actually came out pretty well. The one thing I would say is the piece looks a little bit less yellowed than the rest of the unit itself. You can sort of tell it, although I think that's the crazy glue residue. But here it is. It's that little piece right here. There's just a crack left by it, but it's now in place. And with the exception of this residue on the top near the Apple logo, everything else looks pretty good. And as a result of this, I think I've decided to go ahead with this project. Now that means, in this case, installing a new motherboard. Now, there are several reasons why I decided to replace the motherboard instead of trying to get this one fixed or fix it myself. To start with, the condition of this unit. It very clearly hit the ground very hard and knocked a piece of plastic out of the actual body itself, and it looks hideous because of that. Admittedly, I have repaired it, but the fact of the matter is, make sure I separate the keyboard first. It may have done damage I can't see yet to this motherboard. And again, these motherboards are pretty fragile. These are not modern pieces of equipment. They're known for failing much easier and being much more fragile in terms of their rigidity in some cases. The other fact is, because this is an early motherboard, it lacks onboard diagnostics, which means if I do run into another fault after I get it fixed, it's going to be harder to fix in the future, which is a big problem. Because again, there's really no dedicated Apple shops left in the world that can repair these things. You're on your own, essentially. The next reason also is that same thing with the ROM. In addition to having the lack of diagnostics, it's a little bit more buggy and lacks some of the features that newer ROMs have. And again, the age of this motherboard is against it once more because it has the Micron chips, or MT chips, which are known for causing failures in memory. And again, this goes back to the lack of diagnostics. If something fails, it's very difficult to diagnose. And again, if the memory does fail on an Apple IIc, you are going to be desoldering things. Nothing here is socketed. None of these have a socketed motherboard in terms of the RAM, unless it has been worked on aftermarket and has had those RAM chips removed and replaced with socketed chips. Let me go pull this out now. In addition to these other issues this board has and/or may develop, there's also the fact that the video port and the power port are both in bad shape. The video port has a bad signal and the power port is hanging off by a thread. These are pretty easy to fix, but nonetheless there's still a point against this board, not for it. And lastly, and/or finally, there's the fact that this computer is a clear high-miler unit, if you will. That is to say, it's been around the block a few times and run very hard. This is indicated by the wear and tear again on the power port, the video port, and the keys and the keyboard being almost impossible to press down. Again, this is a point against the old motherboard and not for it. All the details mentioned here and before, plus the fact that this unit is an older model compared to the other Apple IIc I got in the slot, seem to back up my theory that this particular unit was replaced with the other Apple IIc that was purchased in the slot. So really, my options for this thing are somewhat limited. Limited in that regard. I really don't like the idea of doing any of that because all of it is going to lead to problems down the line, and I don't want to deal with any of those issues that could possibly pop up. Okay, I'm just taking out this drive. And so with that, I've decided to go with a new motherboard, which I've purchased, and I'm going to show it to you in a second here as I finish getting this out. I'm going to remove my keyboard now. This keyboard, again, is... it's an Alps keyboard, but oh my god, is this thing trashed. I hope I can find some way of lubricating this or getting it back to life, because I hate to have to get rid of this thing. But right now, I doubt it works very well at all. But I don't have much choice on this fact right now. I'm going to carefully ease this out. I don't feel too nervous about pulling this board out now, because I know I'm not going to work on it. Although that said, I'm going to be as careful as I can be, because I do plan to try to get this thing fixed by someone who's good with repairing these things. So I just now yanked the keyboard out. I need to do this to get the motherboard out. I'm going to put this now in a safe place so it doesn't get damaged any more than it already is, because this is not in perfect shape, to put it mildly. So yeah, it probably would be a really great thing if I didn't damage it anymore. Okay, so We're now down to the nitty-gritty nuts and bolts of the actual system, the brains of the system. Note the positioning of these particular insulators. I got to remember to keep them there in this diagonal line going straight across. I got the drive right next to me. Let me see if I can find a better place to put this. Yeah, I think it should be okay there. Yeah, let me put this actually someplace else, because I don't want to knock this off because I'm doing a lot of work here. There we go. That'll be fine over there. Now I'm going to go ahead and proceed and get this motherboard out. The next step is to remove more screws on the board. I've already removed the 4 underneath that held the drive in place, which you can see here are the 4 holes on the opposite side. I'm now going to physically take my screwdriver and remove these screws along here on the front. 1, 2, and 3. I prefer manual screwdrivers again. Ooh, I almost scratched it. I prefer the manual screwdrivers again because, ooh, this is actually too big for this. That's a change. As I was saying, I prefer manual screwdrivers, as many of you noticed, because, in my opinion, the electric ones tend to over-tighten the screws and cause problems where they shouldn't. And you really don't want to take a chance in stripping one of these screws out. Oh, this is no good either. Okay, let's try this screwdriver this time. Oh yeah, this will fit perfectly. All right, enough. This little thing from a SSD kit will do fine. Again, it helps to have your screwdrivers in place when you're doing jobs like this. Also helps to keep track of your screws. Let me put this with my pile of screws over there. There's another one. Another reason I should mention also is this volume control is a little bit on the wacky or dodgy side or finicky side. It doesn't work all that well. So that's another reason why I want to do this. I'm going to now pull my speaker plug out. I already see the board is ready to move. I'm going to inspect one more time for any screws that I missed. Looks like I'm good to go. This is actually nice and loose compared to what it usually is. These are supposed to usually get stuck, and mine looks actually pretty free, I dare say. Let's carefully pull this back. It is stuck in there pretty good. Let me make sure I'm not breaking anything here. Back and forth. There it goes. These usually, what happens is there's a bumper underneath this. I'll show it to you in a second right there. And this usually fuses with the unit. But I guess this was in a cool environment because that never happened. So yeah, this is actually not frozen at all. You can tell where it was on the bottom here. There's actually a bit of a dust. I may have to go and clean this off before I put it back together again. Just for my own sense of well-being. Okay, so now with that, this motherboard should just come right up. So let's see if that happens. Let me ground myself again. I did ground myself before I worked on this, just so everyone knows. And I recommend doing that. Again, note to self, the diagonal nature of this particular motherboard across from this side to this side. On the 2 wider plates on this motherboard itself, there are these 2 sort of telltale wide plates. I'm going to reuse my insulators because I don't have any others. Keep them right to the side. And now I should be able to just lift this board right out. And there it comes. Oh, hold it. Rule number 21. Never pull anything out until you're sure it's clear. Step number B, get motherboard out without losing what's left of my mind. Pardon the comedy there, step number B, yeah. Okay, so this is what's holding it up right here. This is the headset jack, which is holding it in. I saw Modern Classic had a little struggle getting it out on the video. He didn't say anything much, but he did. So I think if I pull it to the right here, it should come out. I know this has got to come out with it, as it's fused in there. Don't want to force anything. Do I have any screws here? No. Power supply is out. That's out. That's out. No things here whatsoever. It must be the power jack holding this thing in place. Oh, you son of a... I'm going to have to probably clean this thing out before I put the new one in. Let's see what we got here. I don't want to put pressure on this, but... yeah, it looks like it fused in here on the... on this little headset jack here. Wow, it's stuck in there good. I'm not forcing anything, though. I'm going to check carefully. See if there's anything else that's holding this in place. Am I missing a screw? I also note the feeder got on this thing, but I have a fix for that. I'm not missing a screw. They're all gone. They should all be gone. And yet it still won't come out. Okay, that's moving now a little bit. It looks like there's a piece of paper underneath here. That's strange. Okay, that goes like that. What am I missing here? What am I not doing right? Ugh. I could grab it by the volume control, but I'm not going to because I fear I will break it. Oh, here it is. I see. There's a standoff. This is kind of dumb. There's a standoff right at the bottom right here that it holds it in place. This has not got a screw on it, but you have to lift it above that to get it clear. So let us see here if I go straight up. Oh, boy. They really did a number on this. Oh, there we go. I had to lift it up by one of the ICs, but I got it. I don't like doing that, but it worked. There we go, and it's free. And here is this sort of paper on the bottom here. And dead bugs. Oh, that's nasty. But yep, there you go. One original logic board for, as Apple refers to these as, for an Apple IIc, successfully freed from its captivity. I guess you can call it that. Let me go now and do something about cleaning this up, and I'll pick it up from there. So I've gone through the cleanup job on this. Went over with a brush and some compressed air and a little IPA, and it's looking pretty good now. Now it's time for the pièce de résistance, and I'm probably mispronounced that if you'll pardon my French. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the new motherboard. Now again, as I mentioned before, the reason why I was hesitant to use the other one and work on the other board, in addition to all the other things I mentioned, was its age in general. It's an early revision motherboard. More age is never a good thing, even though it's only a couple of years. It can affect it. And again, because it has less features and other such things. Oh, this guy didn't even put this in a plastic bag. That's nice. He put it in bubble wrap. Oh, so I hope this is okay. This has been wrapped in bubble wrap, but it's been sold as is, so I can't really do very much about it. Oh, but anyway, here it is. This is my new logic board. Again, this is a much younger board, built in 1986. Let me ground myself again here because I don't like this stupid bubble wrap. I'm just going to loosely place this in position here. A note to people shipping electronics. I understand that money is tight these days, but please buy yourself, for your customer, a darn anti-static ESD rated bag. They aren't too expensive and it's worth the investment. So I don't know how well this will go in here. And again, if you look at the memory here, it is not the infamous MT RAM, MT as M as in Mike RAM. It's actually TI if I recognize that. Yep. If I remember correctly, that's Texas Instruments. And it's diffused in Japan. So this is really high quality stuff in here. So this is, and again, this was done because Apple had a lot of problems apparently with this MT RAM that was in all their products, and they apparently found out about it and stopped using the company and instead went with this provider. Now, I really wish I had said something before this was shipped, as I was tempted to, but I figured, oh, this seller is professional on eBay. They'll know to ship it in an ESD bag, but apparently not, because this was not shipped as such. So as a result, I don't know if this thing survived the trip okay. Came all the way from the West Coast, although it came very quickly. Okay, now I got to carefully line everything up here. Got to carefully get the microphone jack in place. This is a bit of an angry area on this. There we go. That's in. Then this little jack here has to line up. There we go. This is a little bit tricky to line those pieces up. You have to push this in and line that little circle up down there. There we go. And that's it. And just like that, the motherboard is in loose. Now I have to start reinstalling my screws. Not a big deal. I get them stashed over here. And just one side note, the motherboard screws are a noticeably different size from those that hold the case together on this computer, making it very difficult to confuse them. And again, all the screws that hold the motherboard in are the same size. Nice touch, Apple. And line it up and just slip it in place. There it goes. That's just kind of dropped down into it. I don't like that. I know these things can take some abuse, but I don't like how it kind of just drops into place as such. There are some extra holes here for some reason. I guess it's because this is for a later model chassis. I don't have those holes in this one. It does have the insulator up here for this thing to rest on. So it should be fine. I hope, I pray. So let's now go and just start attaching some of these screws. And then I'm going to check to see if the power supply even works here. Okay, and I have confirmed it is diagonally across for the two insulators, so they're back in place, so I don't have to worry about them. Ground myself again. What I have to do next is ground myself again. Well, no, it's something else. Gonna next put this power supply in. The bumper is, I noted on the top here. Might hope that's going to be okay. This is a different power supply. Oh, actually, yeah, it'll fit fine. So I'm just going to carefully insert this like it would normally have been. Hopefully I don't run into problems with doing this. Either way, I have no way of sort of replacing it, so it's either going to work or it's not. Again, this motherboard is actually made by Foxconn, which is an interesting thing. They're still in business. They do work for Apple to this day. Ah, there we go. Got it in. I'm sorry if it... Oh, I'm sorry, the camera got... Apologies for that, but I did get this in. I just had to push it a little bit. It's now in place. I'm going to now attach my screws to these other mounting points up here to secure it into place, and then I'll continue assembling everything. Seems like it's going to go in pretty simply. I notice it's slightly misaligned here. Not sure why that is. But it should work. Let's go ahead now and get the screws here and put these in place right now. Oh boy. Oh, there it is. Now it's in. Looks like I didn't have this quite centered right. Man. Thing is not a happy camper, is it? Darn stand. Alright, let's get it in there. Put this in like so. One screw in. Oh, this stupid camera. Terribly sorry, folks. Let me try to get this balanced better. Sorry about that. Had to mess up the camera again. Okay, so I got one of my standoff screws mounted in here to the power supply. These, again, are critical because they hold the power supply in place. Yes, it is pretty tightly clamped in by the board itself, but that board is plastic and it can snap, so these stabilize it and stop it from getting any ideas of coming loose, which you definitely don't want. That is definitely not a good thing. Okay, let me just make sure I get anything out of here that is... Oh, I hate it when I go too far with that. Just trying to make sure I don't have any metal shards, because I think I may have over-tightened that a little bit. A little dust on this board, too, I noticed. Not much, just a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go grab some more screws and keep screwing this down. Power supply fits clearly, though it's a little bit awkward. It does go in there. Hopefully this will start up the way it's supposed to. It's amazing how easy this is to work on. If this doesn't work, I'm going to chalk it up to a bad motherboard and just buy another one. And probably send it back to see if it can be fixed. I've already reconnected the beeper speaker up front here to the speaker connection, which is where it goes. Installing all these in here. Okay. There are extra holes in this board to mount other things too, as you can see here. This is a later revision of the board. There are no holes to go into here, but as long as I have all the main ones in, it shouldn't be a problem. I think there's one that goes in here. Is this to the back of the board now? I think it's supposed to go in there, or is it not supposed to go in there? Ugh. Let me just check one thing. Now, this isn't pretty stable, though I now feel comfortable lifting it up. Oh yeah, those are rear insertion points. Okay, so those are rear points. Oh, I have to be careful. I almost not. Don't do what I just did there. Don't lift it up until you're done. So I'm looking for other holes that I can put screws into. Ah, here we go. Here's one of them right over here. There we go. That's in. I think I got everything pretty well straightened out. Oh, I got another screw over here I got to put in right here on the edge. Should have another one of these little guys here. Yes, I do. I think that's the end of it, and it should be ready to fire up. Hopefully not catch fire. Maybe I should rephrase that. So, again, this is a new old stock motherboard, so we'll see exactly how well or not well it does. I have not tested it. I have no other way of testing it but to do this. Oh, I've got one more screw here. Oh, I hate when the part's left over. That's never a good sign. Oh, boy. Where does this thing go now? Where does this thing go? Where, I tell you? Where, I ask you? Where? I don't think I have a place to put this because this board is differently designed. There's no grounding point here, for example. Hopefully this won't cause a problem with the board itself. But I can't see why, because I've seen these things fired up on a bench without the grounding point, so I don't think it'll be an issue. I can't find another area to put a screw. Maybe I'm missing it. Well, the volume control feels a million times better. I just touched it by mistake. That really feels good. Let me make sure this is turned up so I don't have a heart attack when I start it up. Either hearing it too loud or not at all. Oh boy, I really wish I had seen this. It's a little dusty in here. Let me actually go over it with my dust control kit and aka these static control things. Okay, I'm just about ready to fire this thing up for the first time with its new motherboard, and already I've noticed a lot of differences that have finally popped into my head that I didn't see before. To start with, there's a different kind of video port right here for the composite output. I believe this also has the smart port on it. One of the prongs here is half the amount of points that the other one had, but it's clearly an Apple part, so I'm assuming that's supposed to be like that. Also, the power port is nice and strong. It's very well mounted in there, and a bunch of the other chips are a little bit different here. And again, I've as I mentioned before, I believe I have the it has the Texas Instruments memory, I believe that is, instead of made in Japan, I believe that is, instead of the other memory that was Micron or MT. So anyway, I'm very nervous now. I've hooked up my power supply, hooked up my display port, and I've connected my monitor with the HDMI solution. I'm going to turn the switch now and see if she fires up. Wish me luck, folks. Oh. Smoke test. Up. Aha! There we go. Apple II. No garbage, nothing. So, that's a good sign. Let me now do diagnostics. I'm going to now go... Here are the commands for diagnostics. Those of you wondering, Apple, open Apple, closed Apple, and then switch the power on. I'll have to pause you for a second, then I'll show you to you as it runs. Okay, that may look disturbing, the gobbledygook on the screen, but trust me, that is normal. Now let's see if it passes diagnostics. Yes, system okay, so we are ready to rock and roll. All right, that is excellent news. Oh, I was about to have a heart attack there. So, I'm now going to put the system back together, install my drive, and give this thing a more thorough test. Okay, with that all settled, it's time to put my drive back into place. It still smells from the silicone that I put on it before. Pardon me, I always have to use that quirky expression of mine. It's silicone, but I always call it silicone. Because it goes everywhere but where it should. Silicone. Alrighty, let's now put this in here. It's now, hopefully this will fit in. It wouldn't surprise me if it didn't, although that's not the end of the world. I can just use my floppy emu with it. And I'm actually, to build and considering that floppy drives are kind of going the way of the well in the bucket, it's not the worst thing that could happen here. There it is. You gotta line this all up here. Get it into the slots. Make sure it sits down correctly. And make sure it doesn't sit on top of anything it shouldn't. Make sure those insulators are in place. Because it has to grind. It has to ground a certain way, not grind. Oh, I hope it better not grind. All right. Then the floppy drive's controller is right here. Oh, I got to be careful not to pull that. The floppy drive controller goes right back here. Make sure you have it keyed correctly. Oh, I almost broke it. Having a heart attack here. There it is. It's in place. Okay. So now I put the drive in place loosely. Going to try turning it on now with the drive in place and see if that makes any difference. If I can read a disc, actually. Let me go put a disc in here, actually. Let me go grab something. Okay, I've put in a copy of Pac-Man in here. A disc that is sort of incomplete because one game doesn't work on it, the other one does, so it's not my best copy. Figure I'm going to take a chance with something. That's the thing to do. Turn the switch on, and hopefully we will boot into the game. And there it is, Miss Pac-Man. A lot more than I can say from the other system. Oh, Pac-Man, actually. Let's do keyboard, because I don't have my joystick attached. Normal, let's say normal. I don't think it's customized. the key to start. Let's see how well this keyboard works. One. Pardon the jumping, that's just the thing. There it goes. This thing is loud. See if the arrow keys actually work. Oh yeah, look at that. But I'm gonna suck at this one right now. Oh boy, these keys suck on this keyboard. Okay, I can't go up or down. Alright. The keyboard definitely needs help, but I knew that, so that's my next headache to deal with. I'm probably gonna have to replace this darn thing because it's so badly trashed. To find a keyboard to replace this thing. But at least now I know it works. Okay, so with that, I'm satisfied that this is in good working order. I'm going to now reassemble this thing and see about getting it all ready to go. Let me get right on to it. I'm going to put the screws back into her and give her one last test. Okay, I have resecured the drive in place with its 4 stock screws. Now I've got to get the shell back on. I'm going to go over this power switch. This is a trick here with this. You want to make sure you go over the power switch on the rear of the unit. Mine actually has a, looks like it actually has part of the chassis broken off at that point. So that isn't going to be an issue. I don't know exactly how this happened on this unit, but I could sort of do. It'd been hit pretty badly. Oh, I just almost made a big mistake that would have caused me to get very angry. I forgot to put my handle back in. Now if I can find out where I put that handle, that would be so cool. I managed to find the handle, clean it up a bit, and I'm just going to snap it back into place. As such, now I'm going to put the top back on. Didn't think this thing would be coming back to life, but it appears to be, except my keyboard really sucks. I really need to get this thing fixed. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Half my arrow keys don't work. Unless I have the wrong mode on, unless it has something to do with the cap locks key. So I'm going to now go over all these rear ports here. This is one of the angry areas of the case, if you will. Let's now carefully align all of this and put the snaps back into place. This should go on because it's the same underbody as the other thing. What is cool is that it has all these upgrades. I think I really hit the mother load on this. I'm glad I grabbed it. The main reason why I grabbed that one compared to what else I saw for sale from the seller is that this had the youngest date on it, and it didn't have the NT RAM, as I could tell. I immediately saw that, and I'm like, yeah, I need this one. I got to get this one. And I'm glad I did that now. Okay, time to connect the video terminal to the new type cable on this. I really love how funky this thing looks. I'm pretty sure I've upgraded this to a ROM 4 because I notice when it starts, it does something different. I'm thinking I'm going to also try now to boot from my Unidisc drive. I got one set up right over there on my dresser. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the back here and see if I can boot from a Unidisc to something else instead of that. So let's go do that now. I'm going to pull my disc out of this drive right here. And actually, the Unidisc has a disc in it, so I'm just going to throw that in and start it up. Doesn't work. Check disk drive, so it won't work like that. Okay. I guess not. So I don't think I can load from that. I have to put it in here. So it is not a ROM 4 as I thought. So I have to put the disc in with this drive here and just go like that. Okay. Apple control reset. Didn't even check to see if that would work right. Apple control. I think one of the keys on here is a little bit wonky, as they say. And there we go again. And it is booting. And there we are, Moon Patrol. So I have that working now. So this has been a pretty big success. Thanks. It looks like the patient has survived the transplant operation. I'm going to go now and do a little moon patrolling and see how she works, just to make sure everything's all good to go. See if I can do this without sucking too badly here. Didn't I knew that was going to happen. I was bouncing too much. Let's see if I can do this right this time. Jump, jump, jump. That's the old Nokia commercial. Jump. But for that $100, I got something that is much more up to date and much more functional. I got rid of this stupid NT RAM and all this other stuff. Now, I'm not sure that board is a complete disaster or completely hopeless. I'm going to try to see if I can get it out to maybe get it repaired. But for right now, I'm very happy with those results. Now, the next and last thing I want to do to this case before I'm done with this thing is to try another experimental repair, because this is the least good looking of my units. I'm going to try to fix the feet on this, or rather replace them. You can't obviously buy Apple II feet anymore, but they are generally made of a standard size. The closest thing I could find that would grip and not slip, because I don't want this to go flying off my desk when I'm using it. This is a very small unit compared to most others. Are these. These are these Scotch cushioning gripping pads designed for furniture. I guess you can call this an oversized piece of furniture or an undersized piece of furniture. I'm going to go take 4 of them out and put 4 of them on the bottom here. I believe these have adhesive on them. I think I'll just treat it with alcohol before I put them on, and we'll see how they go. Now, I almost wanted to strangle myself, and probably would have left myself in an awkward situation where I wouldn't want to talk to myself for a while. Oh, wait a minute, that didn't come out right. Well, anyway, what I did is, and this is a grave sin, I almost once again left the cables connected before I turned this over. What you can do then is break the NTSC connection, you can break your power port, you can break the joystick port. Whatever you do, don't do that. Oh, note to self. No dessert tonight for you, young man. Or not so young man anymore, I guess. While I'm under here, I'm just giving it a bit of a clean with IPA, because what I'm going to do is stick these new things on. To adhere correctly, they really need a clean surface, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up all of the base of this unit, since I'm right here. There's a lot of just scratches and scuff marks on the bottom of this thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this case forever on this, especially now that this motherboard works. This is such a find that I got here. I'm probably going to now have to buy another case, another motherboard from the same gentleman. See if he has something else that's similar to this, so in case I run into another broken one, I can fix it. Or in case one of mine breaks, because I have a few that are a bit on the questionable side. I don't have anything questionable to salvage parts from, unfortunately. You know, it might help if I gave you guys a light to see, wouldn't it? There we go. That's much better. At least a little bit better. Let's get a little bit more light toward it here. There we go. And I'm just going around this thing, getting rid of all the marks with IPA. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. You can tell this had a lot of crap put on it. Wasn't given a lot of love by its previous owners. I can't do much because it's already been damaged, but I can make it better to a certain extent. Oh god, I gotta be careful with that keyboard. Although really, the reason why I'm not putting anything underneath it to protect is because this particular unit is so badly gone on the chassis, and the keyboard is already destroyed. There really is nothing here worth protecting. It just barely works. I'm probably going to have to wind up buying a whole other chassis for this thing now. Ironically enough, after I did all that work. But, yep, I'm glad I could pull it off, and I'm glad I didn't risk something that was in much better shape. So I got these Scott things. Here they are right here again. I'm going to put 4 of them on. They are self-stickered thingies, so they should adhere by themselves. Let's put 4 on, so peeling it off the backing panel. We're going to put 1 right here where 1 foot would be. And these are designed to grip, not slip. 1 more over here on the other side. Try to center this as much as possible so it doesn't look gaudy. It's a little bit off center, but I'll live with that. Let's go now down. I mean, folks, this camera keeps cutting out on me. Let's go down here now. Gotta line this up as best I can, trying to get the sticky stuff, trying to get the glue off the thing and keep it on there. There we go, 1 there. And now 1 on the very edge over here. You can't quite see it in the shot. There we go. So that's 4 feet on it. They don't look perfect. I wasn't expecting perfection. It was actually a pretty good deal. I think they were $10, and I got I forget how many I got in that package, but quite a few. So these will adhere over time. Let's turn it back over again and look at the finished product. I'm gonna have to patch some tape across that back hole, but other than that, this is pretty well done. Oh shoot! I didn't want to drop it like that, but luckily it didn't drop from a high height. So there we are, all fixed. A little scuffed up on the top here. I think I still have an IPA left on that thing, and that pretty much does it. And with the feet in place, this thing is now nice and stable on my desk, as you can see down here. It's not going anywhere, so I'm pretty happy with that. That'll bring this project to a temporary end. I'm probably going to wind up having to buy a shell for it eventually, but that'll come in the future. For right now, however, I've got a moon to patrol. Hopefully I don't become a full-blown space cadet. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you really like this video, please subscribe. If you didn't, please feel free to dislike it. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, keep the metal side down.